Hey everybody, welcome to the November 30 Tinderbox Meetup. We've got a small group with us today. I'm Michael Becker, the host of your weekly Tinderbox Meetup, and Mr. Bernstein, I think, is out. We'll see if he shows up. And typically the format for these sessions are we go around the room and ask new people to introduce themselves. We don't have anybody new today, small group. And then we will dig into a particular problems, issues that people are having with their tools for thought, knowledge management journey, or we'll delve into a theme. And we don't have a theme or any any specific issues. So let's just kind of go around the room. We can talk about projects that people are working on and whatever the five of us want to discuss about Tinderbox, and then we can take it from there. So Peter, what have you been working on?
Well, I just got my new M4 machine. So I've been installing things, and the very first thing I put on, of course, was Tinderbox. And then I started doing a log of every piece of software that I'm installing on the new Mac as I put it on. And I hit a puzzlement. I was dragging in the commands to brew install the different things to make them the Tinderbox log entries. And one of them was to brew install Kitty at Nightly. Now, when I dragged Bruin Straw Kitty at Nightly into Tinderbox, it turned it into two separate notes with a link between Bruin Straw Kitty and Nightly as a second note labeled place.
Okay, my guess would be, does the name of the note have a period in it or a
The name of the
pound
note had
or
an
an
at
at
sign.
sign?
It had Kitty and the at sign and then Nightly. And then it
Yeah,
turned into two notes with the link.
yep. So that's it. So what's happening is a default Tinderbox document has the settings of the pound sign creates a prototype and the at sign creates a place. And you can disable that if you want. If we want, we can demonstrate that. You want to share your screen and we can show it to you and we can share with others what's happening.
Oh, let's see. I don't have that. That's on a computer that isn't hooked up to the net yet.
Okay. Well, if you want to pull up,
But
if you want to,
basically, it was. Let's see. I was in. Let's open side chat. Let's see. Let me find the.
I'm assuming I'm assuming that's what's happening. Does that sound
Yeah, it
about right?
seems to be. Let's see. Let me find the page and I'll show you exactly what I was copying from.
I've put a link in the sidebar, which is the ATVRef page covering that setting, which is in the general tab of doc settings.
Okay. Kitty.
And what is Kitty Nightly? I have no idea what.
It's a terminal program. Okay, here we are. Okay, let me paste in the link to the page, and I dragged from this page directly into Tinderbox, and
Okay, we will
there.
demonstrate that. Let me share my screen. Oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and create a new Tinderbox file and we'll show what's happening. All right, I'm on my laptop. Hey Bruce. And we got Phil. Awesome. All right. So the issue is this, you're on this website and you're dragging this over to Tinderbox, correct?
I was dragging the
The
actually the
name.
install command itself.
The what? The
I
install command
dragged the
itself,
install
this.
command itself.
Okay, and you're dragging that onto
Yes,
Tinderbox?
I dragged that. There it is. That's exactly what happened.
Okay, so you see what's happening is it's giving you a link that's called place. And what's being generated from that is in document settings, file, edit, where is it? Document settings. And you go to right here, this checkbox, recognize pound prototypes and at places in note names. So what that's doing is it's recognizing the at and generating it appears to be a place for you. And then give you another example of that. Let's say I create a note and I say, um, and I personally turn this off because of, here is at Bruce Gale, pound, um, child. All right, so let's say I was creating a note like that and I hit enter. Um, you'll see it did a bunch of different things. It created a place at Bruce Gale, so it separated that out as a note. And then what it also did is if we go to the outline view, it also generated a prototype called child psychology, because Mark's development idea was you would want to have a shorthand for quickly writing places as designated by ats and pound signs to trigger the creation of prototypes. I personally turn that off because for me, at signs mean mentions in social media. So people's names like at Bruce Gale, or when I'm writing tasks, I'll say, at Mark Anderson to have Tinderbox assign that task to that person I'm designating as at. And then I use hashtags I use the hash mark for hashtags for in social media. And so that challenges me. So if you go ahead and go back to settings and uncheck that box.
And that solves my problem.
Right? That will solve your problem. So now if we drag that over here, it won't happen.
Yes, that's what I wanted to have happen.
Yes. Okay. So that's how you handle that. The other thing that I find interesting sometimes, and this actually came up in the just playing around with names while we're at it. Let me see if I can reproduce this. Here is a note with a period. And then another item. Okay, so if you go to explode and you try to break at the paragraph marks on this note, oh, here, I think I need to do this in here. So we go like this, and then here's note 2, item 2. Let's see if this works. If you go like that, and then you hit a break, is that going to work? Exploded notes. Yeah, you'll notice that it's automatically breaking at the periods and then giving you the second hand. So Tinderbox will interpret your thought that the end of a sentence is at a period when you're doing explode. So this is another thing to consider when you're doing note names. Yeah, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. So, well, in fact, it's got to allow for at least for period or full stop. So we call it exclamation mark or exclamation point and a question mark. Those are considered normal surface sentence delimiters. If I recall, I think explode goes for first sentence. The thing is, it's covering several different things. A lot of people who bring in a lot of text, because if they're doing textual analysis, often that's where their head's at. So they bring in a lot of stuff and you break it down. So often you don't want a note that's sort of several sentences long as a title. So taking the first sentence allows for that. I find if I'm actually deliberately bringing in data that I'm going to explode, like as not, the line I want at the beginning is the title. But if you set it to first paragraph,
right?
If you had some like Mr. period space Smith, it would stop at Mr. because clearly that's the end of a sentence. And if you think about it, all the extra semantics that we do in here in the flash of an eye it's a lot of code. There are all these sort of edge cases. So probably if you go for the last option in the pop-up on the explode thing, which basically allows you to take the first paragraph, I find generally that avoids any unexpected things.
Right. So if we go up here and we hit, and it looks like Tinderbox is being smart for that, but if you go ahead here and hit first paragraph, then you're going to get the.
Yeah. And I don't know, something that's easily overlooked is when you have the explode dialog open, at the bottom, if you're using some custom delimiter, you'll actually see at the bottom right there, it says 1 of 0 notes. So basically, as you tinker with if you're having a problem with a custom delimiter where you're getting insufficient numbers of detections or too many, that figure at the bottom can be remarkably useful. That said, the speed of most of our laptops has sort of passed the point where you are waiting for the explode to catch up. But anyway, that's another useful wrinkle built in there. So on the left side, first paragraph is probably a good thing if you find your title is getting truncated. and there are two other options there. You can remove the title from text, because if you bring in something that has a title and text, you don't really want the title in the top of the text. And the other one is, it may be you're bringing in things that, and essentially all you want are the titles, and you don't want other data from behind them, and that's when you might choose to omit text. And if that goes wrong for some reason, you can normally go back with an action to either remove all the text or to remove the first paragraph in text, if that's, you know, where the if the title's got left in and you don't want them. So it's easy to work around if you miss things. And just quickly, I had a quick look. I think the feature that was adding prototypes in places, I think it got added in 9.5. And I do remember I do remember, and I can't remember who, but anyway, somebody definitely asked for this. So it didn't just go in there as a bunny day. That someone had actually put up a use case for, and it's there. I think, and you might say, well, should it be on by default? I think the challenge from the developer side of the fence is, somebody asked for this, you put in the work to do it. If you put it off by default, then no one ever sees it. That's why these things.
No, I mean, it's not, so there you go, Peter. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
So just to summarize go ahead.
Sorry, just one last one. I don't think at the moment it's something you can set off but via a custom config XML file if you want to get that far down the stack. But you could always write to Mark, and he might be able to make it so that you can do that. In other words, so on your system, by using this extra file, Tinderbox will know to actually subtly change some of the default settings. Thanks.
So the key learning that we just addressed is there are some behaviors that Tinderbox will do when there are special characters in the name of the note. And we addressed two of those. One being the @ and the hashtags that's triggered from a document setting, and the other one from the period, exclamation point, question mark. And what was the other one, Mark? The other special character?
Oh, well, it's the 3 punctuation ends, so it's period, exclamation mark, and question mark.
And so those are definitely unique characters that will influence a name. And it's just something to be aware of. I'm sure there's others too, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Peter, does that answers your question? Yes?
Yeah, that was great. I think I'll ask Mark if maybe he could set up so that it would ignore that if you're holding the Option key when you're making the drag. I think that might be a clean way so that you could have the behavior most of the time, but not if you know that there's a funky character in the name of the thing that you're dragging in at the time you're dragging it.
Maybe, but I don't really understand. Personally, I don't understand the use case, because if you want to create a prototype, then just go create the prototype. Yeah,
The funny thing is, I thought my memory. This is why I don't want to go looking, but I thought it was your idea in the first place.
No, it wasn't. No, it was my idea to not have it, because I was the one that brought it up and said, "Wait a minute, @ signs are social media mentions." So it was definitely not me. I was the first one to react and say, "What's going on?" But but again, I'm not criticizing, because I just don't understand the use case.
Well, for Peter, what you might do, are you familiar with what I mean by a config XML file? It goes all the way back to the early history of Tinderbox, but you can essentially have a little XML file you put in your application settings for Tinderbox, and it can just tweak 1 or 2 things. It doesn't cover every preference, that being the point, but I suspect if you ask Mark, he might be able to flex it. Essentially, it just allows you to say, instead of something being on, it's off. It's just a little bit of XML, something equals false, something equals true, whatever. But if you ask him, he might be able to.
Is there a TB reference to that?
Yeah, when I've finished speaking, I'll put that in. The thing is that I think that's a better fit for you than the engineering and modifying the Option key hold, because like as not, you only want this on if you use it, and then most people want it off and never on. In other words, you really want the default set for what you want, and for most people, to avoid this accidental issue, off is probably great, but I do understand why the default setting is the way it is, and I'll go and put that on after I've just answered the door. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bruce, you had a question. You're on mute. All right. So Peter, that was helpful. You got what you
Oh,
needed?
extremely helpful.
All
Because
right,
that just had
perfect.
me scratching my head. Plus, the first time I saw it, I was in outline view, and it just looked like there was a little dash on either side of the two adjacent notes. I didn't even realize that it was a place to link they had gone there. I thought, gee, why is there a little dash there? And I didn't realize it was a truncated link visible in the outline. So it had me scratching my head.
Right? Yeah, okay, perfect. Bruce, you want to go for it? You're on mute. We can't hear you. Or something's going on. No.
And now, do you hear me?
And there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Eagle has landed.
Anybody else use loopback? It had defaulted to that for some reason. Little
Yeah, what does
soft.
loopback do again? That's for
It's an
capturing.
audio mixer. It's actually kind of cool when it works. Um, let's say that you have a sound source you want to pipe that doesn't normally work. From through the software you're using, you can use loopback as an audio mixer to move that sound source so it'll play through the output that you're looking for.
Got it. All right.
There's a couple of others that do that. I kind of am about 70% successful with it. Occasionally it stumps me, which is not what I wanted to talk about. So, as some of you may know, I've been working more diligently at plowing through a book that I've been writing forever and a day. And I've gotten some positive feedback. One of the pieces of feedback, however, is that it might benefit from some chronological realignment within chapters. And I'm actually thinking across a few chapters. So that sounds like a job for Tinderbox. And my thought is, and some of you may know that I have a current love affair with a program called Gemini AI Gemini Advanced, an AI program from Google, which is HIPAA compliant. And Michael and others have sort of warned me that maybe I should only have it locally. But how can I not trust Google? They say it's going to be secure, so of course it's secure. Anyway, it's interestingly, when I asked it for feedback on my chapter, it mirrored the feedback that I received from a person I met up with who's a former White House speechwriter. And so, that's not to take anything away from his feedback, but I was more impressed that an AI program would literally give me 80% the same feedback, including the chronological realignment. So the question is, how do I easily get bits of my text in the Tinderbox? I've tried exploding a couple of ways, and that hasn't gone well. And then my second thought is that I would like to I would like to use attributes to, in a granular manner, come up with kind of a timeline. And I don't mean timeline by dates. I don't think that's going to work, but maybe timeline by my age at that point in time. So then I can resort my writing and see about how I can have it align more chronologically. That was
Okay,
my
so
thought.
can you give what was the first question? The second one's direct, but what was
Well,
the first question?
the first question was how to move my text in the Tinderbox with these headers. Can I show my screen for just a second? Do
You
you
please. I
sound
was
all
going to
right?
ask if you would mind.
Yeah, let me show you what I have in. Okay, where did share go? Hang on.
Bottom button, green button at the bottom. All right. So we see your screen now. You're on mute by again.
Okay, so I think that wound was self-inflicted. Um, all right, so here's my writing, and then do you also see Gemini?
Yeah.
Okay, and you can see that my prompt was create an outline with topic headings and use H1 at the front of the text.
Yeah.
So it gave me H1 and then it put in bullet points. Fine.
Yeah.
So I revised the prompt and I asked it then to change. It still kept the bullet points, fine, but I asked to change the bullet points to H2 in subtopics, and you can see that it did that.
Okay.
So here I have, so I haven't figured out a way to have it collect the text as well. There might be a more sophisticated prompt I could use, but I'm okay with this because I can find it pretty easily. Question is, so let's say that I take all of this and exploit it into Tinderbox. So it's not that long. And now this is a 3,000 word chapter. Now I'm going to take each little bits of story and so forth, and I want to put that in under in the text window. Question is there is there a Michael Beckian way to do it, or do I just do this manually? And then as far as also selecting my attributes.
Okay, well, a couple things. So currently your document is not structured in with these headings, is from what I gather.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It sussed them out.
All right. So one is I would copy that. So you see the little copy button on the top right, on the top of
Yeah, down here.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
both on
Okay.
top and bottom. So copy that. Let's go back over to Tinderbox and open up Tinderbox.
Okay.
And let's kind of break this project into parts. So one,
you can't see my Tinderbox, can you, at the
no,
moment?
because you're not sharing screen. You're only sharing this.
Right. I'll change that in a second. Okay. All right. Share something different. Let's see. They change it. Documents? No. Screens.
No, you just got to share your whole screen.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay.
All right. So once you just make the screen a little bit larger, the Tinderbox file a little larger, and for fun, so we're not messing around with your main document. Why don't you create a new Tinderbox document?
Fine.
All right.
Got it.
So now you can go ahead and just like say, give it a name, draft headings or draft sections. Oh, you can save the file too if you want, but that's fine.
Okay.
Right. No, but I was saying create a note called called draft sections and then paste in that text. Okay. So a couple things as I'm looking at this, there's a couple things that you can do. One is you're wanting to parse this out and you're wanting to, get rid of and ideally you kind of want to explode, at those headings.
Yes.
So to kind of clean this up quickly, you could copy the text in front of that first bullet, just right in front of the
Copy the text from this one here.
No, oh, no, in front of the first bullet, in front of the second H2.
I'm sorry.
Right? No, the
No.
space in the bullet. Sorry, the text in front of that.
Got
There
it.
you go. Copy. So hit copy that. And what I do in this situation, because there's a certain level of there are times when you want to automatically do stuff, and there's times when just manual is faster. So, what you want to do now is do a find, and then paste that right there. Then click the little replace button and just hit replace all. Okay, so that gets rid of all of the bullets.
Yep, that's what I wanted.
And then now you can start exploding at the different headings. So go ahead and open up Explode. Okay, so I started a delimiter. Break it delimiter, and type the little. Now, by the way, Mark, this came up in the forum just today or yesterday. Typical regex says put the option 6 character, the little caret, to start at the beginning of a line. But if you're really wanting to start at a line, you can do the line break like you have right there. And I think that's a more aligned, go ahead, Mark.
Essentially, yeah, someone was having a problem with exploding. It turned out that they were basically putting caret. Their delimiter was caret for beginning a line and $ for end of line. That's actually what you're doing in this context, and I literally just updated my note on that today. Is that takes it from the very beginning of the source string. In other words, from the beginning of $text to the end, which is not what you want. So what's actually happening here is the explode is going to look at every paragraph, which is one or more sequential line breaks, i.e. backslash ends.
Okay.
Thankfully, we don't have to worry about the different flavors of Windows and Mac so much these days. So you don't really need that unless you need your delimiter to be following several breaks. So in other words, you can take the beginning of the delimiter as being the beginning of a line / paragraph. I say / paragraph because the line, as far as the software is concerned, is where a hard line break occurs. Whereas on screen, you may see several lines of text because the paragraph is soft wrapping in the box of text. So line is a paragraph. The same thing here. And so you basically want to start with the beginning of the line that you want to match, which in this case is going to be a capital H.
Yeah. So do capital H. One.
/ D. And which is going to be one digit because it's H1 or H2.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, you want the H1s, do you? You just want the
H1s. For me, let's take a step back, right? There's two ways to do it. You could break all of these lines out at once, or if you want to create your hierarchy based on what they're telling you, you could just do H1 hyphen space, and then that would break at your H1s. Why don't we do that one first? And then we'll go back and do Mark's suggestion in a second. Hyphen.
And then you want,
space. No. H1's hyphen space, because that's the pattern you have. So if you look at your text, you need the hyphen.
Right.
H1 hyphen space.
Oh, sorry. Got it.
Okay. And if you notice when let's talk about this a little bit. This is interesting. So you see in the bottom when we were talking about explode a few minutes ago, it says 1 of 3 at the bottom right. The bottom right of the screen, the bottom right of the dialogue.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's telling you that there's going to be 3 notes. There's 3 -1. There's 3 H1s in this.
And that's exactly right. If you look here, you can see childhood memories, later conclusion.
Correct. So if you go back, just for the educational sense, get rid of the hyphen there, H1, and just go to H. Right. So it's telling you it will actually find 15 H's. If you exploded on the H's now, you get 15. So go down and put the 1 hyphen again.
And before we move on, even though we're going a different path, I did not know about limiting digits. So I just want to be sure I understand Mark, your suggestion. So when you said H /1 digit.
Oh, sorry. Right. /D means a digit character, 0 through 9, once. So if you just put /D, you're saying, I want the character matching in this space to be a numerical digit. If you put /D plus, you mean 1 or more digits.
Right. Okay. But you don't have 1 or more digits because
and you don't need
goes up to 2. If we went up to 12.
Space, Bruce.
Space?
Yeah, hyphen.
No, you don't want the space in front of the hyphen.
There's appears
H1 hyphen space.
Yeah, I got that part.
It's not matching. I think if you look at the match underneath, I think if you'll find there is
there we go.
No, it's matching 3. Yeah.
It's matching now. Yeah.
It's going to leave H2. See, if I change it to H2, we see the 11 notes.
Yeah.
You see 11 notes that are H2, and it would only be exploding at H2.
Right. So right now we're exploding H1, which is fine.
right?
And then we'll
And when
explode
you
H2
say delete delimiter, what you're saying is delete the H1 in the
Yeah, I
name
don't
of the
want to
note,
delete that.
right? And then, well, you can, you know, and then
I
if
mean,
you
at this point, I could because I'm only using it to find things.
right. So go ahead and delete it for fun. And then under check, no, wait, click the remove title from text, the checkbox, because what you want is you don't want that title in the text. There's no point.
Well, actually, don't I?
No, because you're
How am I going
basically
to find things?
because it's in the name.
Of course. All right.
And one other thing in the title, in the pop-up, there's no harm in changing first sentence to first paragraph. And that's if you happen to have something like a period, you know, terminate, you might have an abbreviated name or something in the title. Yeah, you want first paragraph.
Yeah, I was just looking at the difference.
Right.
Well, the thing is, I'm suggesting you do it because when you go and do 40 more of these, you'll probably have a period somehow.
Well, they're actually, you're exactly right, because I do have a couple of things that, yes, that are 2 sentences. I think that's how it'll break it down.
So now go ahead and hit explode. Now it's easier to see it in outline, so just switch to the outline.
Yeah.
By the way, go back to that other tab real quick. If you right mouse click on the tab, you can just click outline. All right, go to explode, and then those are your go ahead. And so those are your H1s, and now you can explode again, and it will give you your H2s.
Yep.
No. Now you would go explode on each one of those individually.
So select childhood memories.
Click childhood memories, and now explode childhood memories and get its H2s.
Is there a shortcut for explode, or you just have to go up?
Yeah, there is. Let me show you how to do it. This is how I do it. So right now, open up your settings. No. Go to your Mac, your MacBook settings.
Oh, my Mac settings. I have oh, never mind. Hang on.
Okay, go to keyboard. Click on keyboard.
Tinderbox has a shortcut. It's Command-Shift-E for explode.
I don't think it works.
It does. Well, unless you've
let's find out.
something
Okay, Command-Shift-E. Well, works for me.
There you go. All right.
It probably, in Michael's case, it's probably because you have another app.
Operation. We have no idea how this is going to come out.
So just quickly, the reason that Michael's probably not getting the shortcut to work is another app which has started before Tinderbox has already taken that assignment. So you can't. It's very difficult to actually tell. But if you have a shortcut that's not working, that's definitely documented.
So I always go in and create. I always go ahead and create my own shortcuts anyway for things that.
All right. So
now type 2.
1 of 8. Oh, because it says it's removing it. Is that it?
No, just go ahead and hit no. It's the reason why it's not showing you anything in the example is because you've got an empty line break at the beginning of the text.
Okay, I'll just explode.
No, but look, no, before you move anything, look, there's an empty line break in your text right there. You see that? That's why the examples weren't showing up.
Okay. And so here we have my exploded notes. Perfect.
So those are now the heading 2s for that child memories.
Yep. And I have to just go through each one of them to do it?
Yeah, or you could do, or there's another, we'll do Mark's example in just a minute. So go ahead and do that again.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one way of doing your explode. Now go back up to your draft sections. Now hit explode.
Hit explode?
Yeah, and this time make your delimiter H for what is it, \D?
\D, yeah.
Okay, and just go ahead and
with or without the hyphen.
There's no hyphen. You don't need that.
Okay.
Well, I guess you do. H backslash D hyphen. Yeah, do the hyphen. Yep. So you see you have 13 notes.
Yeah.
So go ahead and hit explode. Oh no, but before you do that, no, okay, go ahead. That's fine. Go look at the results.
That's not fair.
No, it's fine. No, no, no. Go look at the results. The second
Let's see.
the second exploded notes.
Got it.
All right. There's all of them. But the problem with this one though, no, stay there.
Well, I'm just doing that. Okay. Sorry. The problem with this one.
Is now you don't know which one's H1 or H2. So go back to the draft
Exactly.
sections. Now hit explode again. This time keep the delimiter. Now hit explode. No.
No, you'll now have, if you collapse.
Got a third. There you go. And now you see you've got your delimiters. So now you can figure out which one of them are H2 and H1. And then if you wanted to, you could select all the H2s and tab them into underneath the H1.
Right. That's the approach I would have used.
Now, then what you can later do is use the replace, which we can practice now if you want. Use the replace stamp to remove those H1s or H2s if you want.
Oh, sure. Let's
remember
go
that
for
code
it.
we learned last week in class?
Well, of course I do, Michael. How could I not?
Well, I remember that we did it. You don't have to remember the code. We can model it again if you wanted to try it.
I don't want to take time away from others if there's
No,
some
no,
other projects, but I wouldn't mind the refresh.
There's no time taken away from others. So go ahead and hit Command 1.
Okay.
All right, and click on the number 4, the documents.
Yeah.
All right, or properties. I mean, no, sorry, documents. The one to the left. Click on stamp. Okay, and then you can hit the plus button to create yourself a new stamp. All right, and then down in the yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, and so there you would say name $name equals $name dot replace. Okay, dot replace, lowercase r. Okay, now just to complete the syntax, put a parentheses, 2 quotes, a comma, 2 quotes, and a parentheses, and then the semicolon.
Wait, remind me, replace, okay, 2 quotes. So it's nothing, it's not nothing.
No, I'm just giving you the syntax first. Put the semicolon.
Okay.
Put the semicolon in. So the syntax is what you're saying is, hey, Tinderbox, change the name, make the name equal to the name plus the using the replace operator. So the first 2 quotes are the pattern you want to match, and the second 2 sets of quotes are what you want to replace the match with.
So I put H1 here.
So if you want to match, you would do a capital H. And now you wouldn't do H1. You could do H1, or if you wanted just to automatically replace the numbers, you do the pattern that Mark just taught you, which was the backslash D.
Am I doing that here?
Yeah.
Okay. Put backslash
D hyphen space.
Sorry?
Hyphen space.
Right. Oh.
And then since we're playing with it, why don't you go ahead and put a character in the other set of paragraphs, and for that hit like option 6 just for fun for now.
6.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're saying, hey, Tinderbox, replace all of the H's that have a numerical digit following them and a hyphen and a space with the option 6 character.
Okay.
So why don't you go ahead and click on the first note first, the H1 childhood memories. Okay. Now, when you're testing this kind of thing, I will often copy the name first, because if it screws up for whatever reason, it may delete the text on you. So once before you select everything and make this work, you want to make sure you have your pattern right. Now you're okay because that text is still up there in your original exploded note. So if you do accidentally delete it, you still have a copy of what that original text was. But I think
Right.
this should work. So go ahead and hit apply. And you'll see that character has now been replaced with the 6. Or
Yes.
with the option 6 character. I don't know what you actually call that. I forget. And so now that you know that that pattern works, you can then select every one of the notes.
And why am I replacing it with this character?
Just to show that how a replace works. Now why don't you go ahead and delete that character? Now select all of the other notes and hit apply. And they're gone.
Yep.
So that was just the reason for the character was just to show you what the replace function does. It visually show you. So what it did is it replaced that pattern with nothing.
So in this case, though, I'm trying to remember, had I done the find and then choosing replace, I forget, is that that's not global. I mean,
No,
I can
that's
also
only on the
select my
note, and it's
notes.
only in the notes text, not the notes names.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, nice.
So you can get rid of that character out of the name. Okay. So that's how you kind of pull those headings out of your names. Now, if we want to go to your original text, now this is where, again, you'll want to kind of manually do some of this. No, like in your Tinderbox file. You'll want to manually
Sorry.
do some of this. So if you like look at some of the terminology, like you could try to have Tinderbox help you automatically find some of these themes, like look for the word memories or look for the word family or word, so think
But
about
let me suggest an alternative and see if this goes anywhere. Um, what if I were to look at my text in Google Docs, and this is a copy of things, so there's nothing here that I'm going to ruin. And suppose at the front of each paragraph, I were to put some kind of code that I want to become an attribute.
well, you could do that, but here's the challenge. Now you're doing that work in Google Docs, but your Tinderbox file doesn't have that work in it.
Well,
And
I would,
if you're going to copy and paste that over to your Tinderbox file, then you're kind of got two sets of text and you're creating a mess for yourself,
well, and hence the reason for this question,
right?
because I tried some things and they didn't work out as well.
Right.
Um,
So what I
so,
would do is I would do that operation, but in your Tinderbox file.
all
So
right,
if you're going
so
to go
why don't
through
I
and
just
read
copy
no, but isn't the text already in your Tinderbox file?
um,
Or you can do it here
no.
you can do it here
Not,
as create a new.
no, it's not, because if we, let's see.
That's fine. Just do it here. Create a new note. Collapse all that.
All right, so
No,
here,
I wouldn't do it there. Yeah. There
you
you go.
wouldn't do it there. Where would you
No,
do
no,
it?
but bring it back to the root.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah.
You couldn't see my fingers. Okay. Okay, so I take that, I paste it. Oh, sorry, it didn't copy it for some reason. Let's try that again. Copy, Tinderbox. Huh.
No,
Oh,
you
you know
could do a
what? Yes,
paste
it
back.
is.
Yeah.
It is there. I took some information and um, yeah, this was some feedback that it gave me. Let me take that out. Yeah, this was how it gave me feedback.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to keep that. So I'm just going to
Just create
create
another
another.
note. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. So here we have it.
Actually, a useful tip, if you're starting in something like Word or Google Docs, I invariably use paste and match styles. So when I paste stuff in, it's Command Option Shift V.
Oh, you
what
want
that
to claim?
does is what that means is not only do you not get the font choice and everything that you had in the source thing, but you probably lose a whole lot of other cruft you just don't need. So
well, you don't have to do it again. No, Bruce, don't. You don't have to do it again. Go back to go back to your other document. Right. Click in there. Click Command A.
I'm sorry. Which one of you is Surgeon 1 and which one is Surgeon 2?
Yeah. Click into the text. Right. So if in fact you've done what you've done, which is fine, click into the text. Hit Command A. Select all the text. Go up to the what is it? The edit menu. No, format menu. Click Style. And you'll see standard fonts, reset margins, standard size, and you can click those 3 options and that will reset everything for you. And then go ahead and do it again. Do standard font and then standard size or standard margins. And that's how you that's how you clean out another document stuff, or you just paste it special in like Mark was saying, and you automatically are essentially doing that.
Yep. What I was going to do also was just hit Alt A and then hit the Shift Option V or Shift Option Command V.
Yeah, that would have overwritten it.
That would have done it too. Okay.
No, possibly not, because you've already embedded the fonts and that styling in that text note, and so it probably would have still adopted the original styling that you had.
Okay. All right. Well, that's helpful.
Because what you did, just be clear, what you did when you originally pasted that note in, you told this note, I want this styling. So if you went back in and did a command, a paste special over the top of that styling, it would be using the styling that you told it you wanted it to use, as opposed to if you created a new note, that would have been Tinderbox's default styling. So when you then hit a paste special, it would have been matching Tinderbox's default styling.
That's interesting. I've had problems with that occasionally. So when I copy something in and just hit Control V, and then I try to, reset it.
Yeah, you basically
reset it the way you just suggested, not by just pasting it back in. Okay, because it has now set it at that font and size.
It's now set it at that styling. So pasting special doesn't work because it's the styling you've told it you wanted.
Live and learning.
I mean, it's really helpful to sometimes take a big step back and try to think like a computer. The computer is doing exactly what you're telling it to do. And that's where it gets kind of frustrating sometimes, is you need to think about, well, what have I been telling it to do?
So now, as I'm going to, I certainly don't want to take you all through this, but just to try one of them. So am I now going to copy, for example, paragraph 1?
No, I wouldn't. So here's some, no, this is not a bad, actually, I mean, if everyone chime in and chat or interrupt and say, God, this is killing me, let's move on to something else if you want. But there's different strategies you could do with this. You could, you could manually go about going through this and do what you were just saying, copying and paste. Now, if you can, just for fun, can you collapse all of those? Yeah, actually, don't collapse them right now. Go back to the last one you had.
Let's see.
Yeah, that one. Leave that one uncollapsed. So what? No,
uncollapsed.
Yeah, and then expand that one. Expand the first one. Childhood memories. No, childhood memories.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could delete the other 2 explodes because you don't need them anymore.
Let's see. We're just using the first one?
No. The other 2 explodes.
Sorry. We're just using the third one.
Yeah, just delete those because you don't need them anymore. Just hit the delete key. And then for me, I often select all of those notes once I have what I want and move them out of the explode notes.
Yeah.
You don't want to select the explode note. There you go.
I know.
And then put it under draft sections or put it under, there you go. And then you can delete the exploded notes. Actually, no, you don't want to do that. Actually, this is a good example of something you do. Hit undo multiple times. So this is just something to be aware of. if everything's expanded when you pull the drag out, Tinderbox will put everything at the same level. Go ahead and collapse everything real quick. And now drag those up under the draft sections. And Tinderbox should have retained the or you copy and paste it sometimes too.
It looks like it didn't. Didn't it move everything
in that case,
to?
and I don't know why. Hit or yeah, it should have retained the outline structure. Try it again.
So here, what if I just
One at a time?
Yeah. What if I just copy?
No. Okay, that's
No?
fine. That's fine.
Okay, so here, draft notes. Let's
No,
see.
you got to put it a little more to the right. There you go.
Okay.
But you
And
shouldn't
now,
have to copy and paste. Just move that one up, see what happens. No, you don't want it. You want it to the left. There you go.
yeah, I moved it back one.
All right, and then you can just delete exploded notes. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can go about doing this. Go ahead and now expand the later childhood memories in conclusion. Okay, so the first, and again, you want to think about like what's the order of things you want to do. So if you click on your full text notes, let's say you want to do this paragraph by paragraph. So grab the first paragraph and you can drag that now over under whatever note, like where would that be? Which of those categories would you want it to be under?
Let's see, hang on. So let's see. Do I have to cut and then?
No, you don't.
No, because I wanted here. It's the topic one. Okay, let me go back.
Hit undo.
All right, so here. So
No,
you're
but is
saying
that hiding in the bathroom or is that some other
so this one? Well, this first paragraph is childhood memories and family dynamics.
Okay, so you don't actually have a subheading for that.
Right.
So you might want to create an intro.
Yeah. Oh, what just happened?
So option shift. Actually, no, this is faster to learn how to do that. Do option shift, enter, and that will create the child note. There you go.
Right.
Option shift enter automatically creates a child note. Yeah, Mark Anderson, go ahead.
I think I see where we're going with this. Is that you've brought all the headings in, and now you're adding paragraphs to them. But if this is the original source text, why not bring just the whole thing in and do the same, but do the explode with the text already in place?
You could do that too. And now that's another example. So you could do what you were doing. There's that example. So we're going to copy and paste that under each of the sections, which by the way, down the road is going to be a bit messy and you'll have a bunch of manual stuff you need to do.
The other problem you have is, if I may just quickly interject, is you've seen the problem just here because you've got H2s nested inside H1s. Really what you want to do is you want to probably put those, at this point, you actually want to paste those paragraphs into the text of the notes, not as notes themselves, apart from the fact that you're going to get very long titles. What you really...
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that.
Stop for a second. If you copy that, then select childhood memories and paste it in, and now you're beginning to add text to childhood memories.
But I actually wouldn't do that though, because I'm thinking of this. Those sections are actually in this context or for this stage of your thinking and writing. My interpretation of what you're saying is those are more categorical than they are the writings that you're doing. So I like the idea that Mark had earlier. And why don't you do this for me? Go ahead and explode the full text really quick. And just do it. You hit break at paragraphs. And yeah, go ahead and hit explode. So you've got 44 paragraphs.
Sure.
Okay. Now what you could do And this could be kind of interesting. Go ahead and open that up. Now, think about it in this context. Childhood memories and family dynamics. You could drag a link between that one and this one and that paragraph. And you could actually add a code to each one of those. So this is
But keep in mind, I'm going to reorder these.
I know, but what I'm saying though is based on what I'm hearing you say, another strategy here would be each of those sections are categories of times in your life. So you could
Well,
actually
yes, maybe. I mean, that's part of the problem with the chapter, and I mean, it's actually going to be a problem with the first. What I'm ultimately going to do is probably take my first 4 chapters, and I mean, not to get too much into the writing, but some of the difficulty is that there's certain things that happen that are thematic. So they might happen when I was age 2, age 8, and age 12, but they all relate to the same thing.
I know, I got that, but this is where
Let me
this
just
gets really
finish.
kind
Let
of
me just
cool.
finish for a second. So it's a writing stylistic choice, and I want to see how it looks. Whether I'm not trying to go straight chronologically, but I am trying to group these in terms of themes.
But I'm
Uh,
also thinking you might have two, but here's the issue. Then you just raised this up, which is interesting. You also raised the point, though, that some of these themes happen at different ages in your life, and some of these themes might have happened. So a theme like hiding in the bathroom might have happened at 2 and at 5 and at 6. Right? So you might want to make that category also independent of yet another attribute, which is the age attribute, which we can create right now.
okay, so we're
So
creating
rather than moving that text underneath hiding in the bathroom, what I would recommend is linking hiding in the bathroom to that paragraph, that set of text.
okay, so link this.
Well, I would do it the other way around. Hiding in the bathroom goes into the text.
Okay, so we're just doing this.
Do it to or to the first one. Okay, that's fine. And then give it a label. Like,
Yeah, labels
I would
always
call it
puzzle me.
like maybe
Oh,
childhood memories or family dynamics or what's that grouping of that, so that link is associated with something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Because what you're going to ultimately be able to do too is once you've done this, you'll then be able to look at a map view and see, or a hyperbolic view and see all of these cross linkings of these different events that happened in your life all linked together across all of these paragraphs and actually to see. And so we can, when we're done with this, you're done with that mapping. You then can start viewing these different categories you've now created in a hyperbolic view.
Right. And I mean, in a way, it's frustrating because I'm trying to get the hell out of my childhood here and get on to the truly interesting interactive stuff, which occurs when my brother and I are both adults.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so how I organize this, there's about 4 chapters that go through some of the childhood stuff. And
So you might, to
let
your
me
point, you may find that at this point, this exercise and this level of granularity is not of value to you.
right. And so that gets into the incremental formulation part that you've talked about at times.
Correct.
That maybe this isn't what I want to do right now, but I might do this later.
Correct.
Mark, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just check my notes. Things on. Yeah, I mean, I sense what's going on here is 2 things are getting conflated in a way that's not helping you. So I understand the excitement of wanting to get to the end, but what you need to do at this point is think in terms of patterns. What you're doing here is you're creating relationships in whatever way suits, so that you can find related things. So concentrate on that for a while, because if you get that pattern right, it will work for the whole of the document. So it doesn't matter which bit of the document you're working on. So in other words, it doesn't matter whether you're working on the child bit or the adult bit. It really doesn't matter. It's the same pattern. So this is, at this point, don't concentrate too hard on the text, but think about why you want to relate a paragraph to, for instance, to a heading.
Right. And that's very
essentially,
helpful.
your what you made as headings aren't really headings. They're just categorizations, because I think would be a more what useful way to think of them, because headings have a sort of semantic meaning to
Right.
the
You're correct on that.
Yeah. Okay. So they're not. Let's forget they were headings ever. They're just categories. So what you want to know is categories now ideally want a way to know what bits of the manuscript, the overall text, relate to that category. Now, as you've split it up at the moment per paragraph, a paragraph potentially could relate to 3 or 4 categories. Now, that may be what you want, that may not be what you want. And the whole point about thinking about this process, thinking about the pattern, is to help you understand if you've got the right pattern for what you want going forward. Again, don't worry about, I know it seems counterintuitive, the last thing you need to worry about is the actual text. You're thinking about the pattern. Is it helpful for me? Because the thing is, it needs to work for you, not necessarily for somebody else. Tinderbox is a toolbox, so you can use the tools in any configuration you like. There's more than one way to do this, and the thing is to find a way that helps you. So for instance, if you were following this line you started that Michael was showing you, what it means is, for instance, you could go to one of your categories, like hiding in the bathroom closet, using hyperbolic view, because we're going to look at relations that run across more than one container, so a map won't work. A map only shows us one container. You'd be able to see from that category all the bits of text that related to that theme.
Well, and just to give you the slightest, this is absolutely relevant. As a child, he chases me and I hide in the bathroom at 2. As I'm older, he chases me up onto the roof. I'm now in London, and he hides in a Rolls-Royce dealership to escape the police. And my father gets married, and he buys 3 plane tickets, and I find him in Palm Springs. So that hiding thing is thematic throughout. And there's other themes of that. A piano becomes, and music becomes a theme. Art becomes a theme. But part of the problem, it's a big story. I mean, I can drop names like Andy Warhol, with whom my brother produced a play, and Vincent Price, to whom he sold artwork.
That won't matter,
What
Bruce.
do I do with those characters?
Tinderbox can don't worry about that. But you can see how working in a long form document like Google Docs or Word or whatever actually sets you up really badly for the task you're trying to do, because it was making you do things like put headings which sort of have a semantic structural meaning.
No, I did that.
Okay,
that was me.
but the tool, for instance, if you wanted to do the categorization we're just doing now in Word, for sake of argument, you wouldn't be able to do it, because what you're doing here, whether you do it via links or whether you do it via attribute values, you're essentially creating metadata about bits of the narrative.
Exactly. That's
okay.
It. And
so that's the pattern. So you've got 2 things going here. You're working out a pattern that lets you find what you want later. Because it's one thing to just put bits of metadata in, but if you just end up, it's a bit like early days of online, digital keywords. You just had a grab bag of keywords. So now you had a different problem in that you had a big bucket full of keywords, whereas before you had no keywords. What you're trying to do here is something more structured, where each of the paragraphs, because that's the granularity you're using at the moment, of the original manuscript is linking to one or is linked from. Again, you can play with that and see which works best for you. But each paragraph of the manuscript is being categorized, in this case by making a link to the category it relates to, which means that the note that stands proxy for that category can also do the reverse. You can say, right, show me all the paragraphs that relate to this category. And that's the map. That's the map, small m, that you're creating out of this process. So you can go back and say, okay, where did this turn up? Now, if you also, with your manuscript, because I presume it's broadly a linear linear on the time scale. So we start at, we
Yes.
start at the beginning, end at the end. If you annotate those paragraphs, you can add, say, well, the thing might be to do is to put in an attribute value that indicates maybe the decade or the year or whatever significant phase of life they occurred in. Then, for instance, you'd be able to say for category X, such as hiding in the bathroom cabinet, show me all the notes about this that occurred in, phase 2 of my life. So do you see how the way you capture the information allows you to ask the question that you have in your mind?
Yes.
Yep. So I know it seems sort of abstract and therefore mechanical and perhaps not very creative, but it's actually incredibly powerful. What you're doing is you're capturing these strands, mindful of the sort of question you're wanting to ask of the manuscripts when it's done. And then, of course, you can go back and play tunes on it and rearrange it. But until you've done this initial capture, so the two things it would appear you want to do is you want to codify the manuscript, for want of better words. So in this case, we're looking at the full text down at the bottom of your screen there. Those paragraphs want to know where, in whatever linear scale you're using, where they occur. So even if you haven't written them sequentially, you might have a thing that's 3/4 of the way through that actually relates to something very early in your childhood. And that's not a problem, because if you annotate it with, say, an attribute value that says this relates to year whatever or this phase of my life, it doesn't matter it's occurred 3/4 of the way through the narrative, because the document now knows if you go to ask the question, if you ask for the things for, the second decade of my life, it will find that wherever it is in the overall linear narrative, because that paragraph has been tagged as being relevant to that phase of your life. Does that make sense?
It does. And it almost makes me tempted to, much of the writing is done, but there's a lot of reorganization. I have about 300 pages in the manuscript. So it comes out to about 20 chapters. But the difference is I've been writing it over years, and now what I need to do is to put it into a final format, as I'm also trying to find a publisher, and frankly an editor, so I don't lock everything in only to have someone say, oh, and you need to redo it like this.
Okay, but the thing to bear in mind is, so I know it's this so odd for me to say it, but you're doing essentially exactly the same as you see when Michael shows his sort of, his report system. It's the same ideas, just in a different space.
Yes, and I get that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is why I say think of the patterns, because when especially when you're doing sort of broadly creative or sort of biographical writing, you can get sort of into the mindset that you become constrained by the words you're writing. But
and you
joy
become
of a tool
constrained by the linear
Yeah.
nature of the writing.
Yeah.
Of the
So
tool.
that you can write in. So having brought it in, for instance, if you have a paragraph if you've got a paragraph in a note, you can put it any way you like in a subsequent rearrangement for output. You might have to look at some point you'll need to read them and make sure that they flow. But then that's a textual that's a normal textual editing task, and you want to do that on the sort of back end. But at this point where you've written all this text, you've recorded all these events that have meaning for you, and you've recorded them in a sense as best you can in roughly in order. But now you can go and you can pull out these relationships and make them manifest in a way you can query. And what that does is instead of having to do all that work in here, you can actually do it in the tool and see that, and then you can ask yourself, well, did I categorize that correctly, or maybe I need another category,
Right.
And you can make the changes at whichever end you like. I mean, in terms of whether you change the category or whether you give a paragraph more categories or fewer categories, all possible. Tinderbox very forgiving of that, and don't feel you have to set up all the categories before you go, because one of the joys of the tool is it will just let you add as you need, or indeed you can go back and sort of edit out some things. So for instance, if you were using links and you've given links, say, of 2 or 3 different types, and you now realize they're all the same one. You can find all those links that have the wrong link type. And we won't dive down the rabbit hole now, but there are a number of ways that you can make, in a sense, the wrong link type have the right link type, and sort of clean up as you go. So don't worry about getting it right, but do sort of think about the pattern, even if it seems sort of cruel and abstract and not quite how you would think to write it. It will deliver for you.
So do you see on the screen, I've started just with an attributes column, and roughly, so I'm thinking to myself that there might be places, these different characters, probably put in my age and his age. We were 12 years apart, so sometimes one is relevant, other times the other is relevant. And what I'm thinking is that, so under places, this would become a set. Am I
right? Yeah, I wouldn't call those attributes. So like the places would be a prototype, and the attribute could be, and you could have an attribute called location, and then the values of the attribute location would be those cities.
So, okay, places would be a prototype.
Right. So let's go ahead and play with that, right? So if you can go ahead and collapse the full text, and again, this is how I do this too. So go ahead and collapse the full text. Collapse all of the text so we can just play with the.
How do you collapse it in text window?
No, the drafts, collapse the outline.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so now we're just going to go, remember we talked a lot about organization. Collapse all of that too. All right. So now we're going to start working in the backstage. We're going to start creating some of these resource notes for ourselves. And one of the resource notes that we have, the permanent notes that we have, are these things we call location, right? So what I would do if it were me, I'd create a prototype called location or place.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, that's fine. Or just hit enter and it'll create you a new one.
Okay.
And call it like P place or P location or whatever you want.
Okay.
And you can give it a little badge to help you distinguish it. No, the little plus button on the left. The little plus. There you go.
There we go.
And then type place or location. And what Tinderbox is, so everybody knows this now too. In the last release or two of Tinderbox, Mark has integrated with SF Symbols, which is Apple's symbols library. And we now have access to over 6,000 symbols through that SF Symbols place. So now you've created a location. Now there's a couple things you can do here. Go ahead and you might want to have an attribute called location. Actually, this is interesting. We don't necessarily need a prototype for this now that I think about it. Well, actually, yeah, let's go create a.
My concern was that I would have prototypes overrunning each other.
No, that's fine. But now this is the way I do it. Now go ahead and create another attribute called person, or just add the person attribute.
So add a person attribute to.
No, not attribute. I'm sorry, prototype. Add the person prototype.
And I'm sorry, did you say person?
Person, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So there could be so in the person prototype, you can just use a little head there.
Yeah.
Right? So in the person prototype, you might put location in.
Okay. So get rid of.
In the person prototype, create an attribute called location. And now you're going to make that a set. Now you want to ask yourself. Now here's the question. You want to ask, okay, that's great. Now go ahead. Now you've created that attribute. Go ahead and hit Command 1. And click on the users tab right there. Nope, down.
Wait.
Down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't.
Got it. Yeah.
All right. So you could populate, and we did this a couple meetups ago, but you could populate the suggested fields there for the locations. I personally don't recommend doing that. And the
Okay.
reason why, and again, a lot of people default to that because they want the default drop down list to be their locations. The challenge especially with the kind of writing you're doing, I don't necessarily recommend doing that because location actually is a character in the book. Right? There's stuff that happened about Los Angeles that you might want to explain about Los Angeles. So
Yep.
I would create another, go create another folder. And
Another folder?
using my vernacular, you can change it later yourself. You can close that if you want. Create another container. Say under the chapter V3, create another note above prototypes. Call it resources folder. Okay. Create another in that, create a note called locations folder. Okay. And now go to your attributes area where you've got all of your locations you created, your attributes note. Copy all those places. Paste those into the locations folder. Okay.
Paste it in here?
Yeah. Okay. Now doing on before you do anything, on this locations folder, doing on, yeah, you can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. So do an on add, create an on add for this folder.
Okay. So
Go to your displayed attributes.
Yep.
Add the on add. Okay. And then give yourself an on add, $ prototype, equals. Quote, key location. End quote. Okay.
And do I semicolon? No.
Yeah, you can because you might eventually add more commands. So go ahead and explode these notes into the location folder.
Wait, explode.
We
Oh,
just did
got it.
explode earlier today.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, yeah, let's go ahead and hit enter. Hit explode.
Remove title from.
Doesn't matter. I mean, you can if you want. Go ahead and hit explode. And Tinderbox crashed for some reason. So open it up again. All right, so you're going to have to redo that. Open up the resources folder. No, you want to open up the resources folder.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
Click location folder, paste, and now explode your locations. Or no, or you want to do your on add.
Yeah.
I just put a note. I would suggest, unless you're well versed in action code, that you actually do things like on add in the inspector. You can show them the display attributes, but I wouldn't write them there because you have the advantage of the syntax coloring.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So go ahead, close that. Hit Command 1. No, hit Command 1. Let's do what Mark just suggested.
Okay.
Go to the Death Star on the far right, and under Action, start typing your action code there. $ prototype equals, and then select P location. Okay. Okay, now you can close that window. Why didn't that save in as on add, Mark? Oh, maybe click away and come back. Maybe the note needs to refresh.
You haven't left the.
I thought. Did I not click away?
You should have.
Huh. Okay.
That's where the on add goes, right, Mark?
You have to hit return while you're in that dialog box.
But I did that. I hit it after the.
I don't think so. Hit P location. Now go ahead and hit return again. You shouldn't have to anymore, but go ahead.
And then click away, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just for the heck of it. All
right. Well, let's worry about this later. Just paste that in there. Okay.
But
Now,
what right, you've got to just have interest. So what you didn't do is you didn't refresh the right hand pane, so the text of the on ad wasn't showing because you hadn't refreshed that. You didn't know it, but the displayed attributes need to be told that there's been a value change that affects it. I suspect if you deselected and reselected the locations folder, it would have worked. That's probably what's going on.
yeah, we were trying to do that. Okay, now go ahead and hit explode.
Okay. I hope it's okay with everyone that I'm taking this much time.
No, this is all part of the skill set. It's great. We're learning. Okay, so now go ahead and move all of those locations above into the locations folder. Okay, delete the explode attributes.
Let's see, do I go
Exploded
back?
notes.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay, so now what you've done is you've created yet another set of categories that you can now start linking these individual location notes to all of your individual chapters. And let me show you how to do that.
And I would do this through linking rather than trying to have it be an attribute.
You could, no, but I think you'd want to do both, honestly, because the linking helps you for visual affordance, the attributes help you for search. So go ahead now and create another prototype called P-Note. And on P-Note, add, you can add a badge if you want, but I would add the location prototype.
P-Note, so it's, all right,
Yeah,
we'll just go with that for the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, you said add a prototype?
Now add the displayed in the displayed attributes, add location. Okay, and also add person. Hit enter. Now create another one called person too. Hit enter. Okay, now make person a set. Okay. Now, if you want, while we're at it, just real quick, where you select the locations folder. No, folder.
Sorry.
And now add another, hit enter and add another folder called people folder. Okay, and in the people folder, you're going to put your characters, you, your brother, Andy Warhol.
So
and we won't do it now, but you'll go through the whole on ad action like you did.
Let me just open up something real quickly to show you, because I have oh, where is it? Yeah, so I have a partial list of characters, for example.
Yeah, why don't you just for now just grab all of those and copy them over?
So just copy?
Yeah, hit copy.
Okay.
And then if you want real quick, just create the on ad for the people folder. Prototype equals person.
So
do the on ad for the people folder.
Do the on ad. Okay. So whoops. Okay. On ad. Okay. For the people folder. Okay. So that's it, right?
No, you got to now say prototype equals person.
No, actually, oh wait, I don't, 1 second. And so this would be
person.
No, person. P person.
No, it's not P person, it's just person.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Now you'll need to recopy those character names because you've got something new on your clipboard.
Right. Got them.
All right, go ahead and hit paste. Or you can do that, or just no, but they're already notes. So just go back to your people folder. Click on your people folder and hit paste. No, not in the text.
Not in the text.
Because they're notes from another Tinderbox file. So just hit paste.
Wait a second.
No, because it was on the clipboard. Go back to your Tinderbox file and copy the notes.
Okay.
Copy those notes.
Oh, got it. It stripped it out.
Paste. Yeah, and now if you hit tab, they'll all tab under there. So now you have all of these people. And now what you can do is you can start linking every one of those paragraphs to both people and to the locations. Okay, now let me show you let me show you the most effective way to do this that I've found. So go down to your P note folder, actually, what you've already done here. What you want to start, okay, just do me a favor. Go up to the locations folder real quick. And this is where action code can be helpful. All right. Click on the locations folder, click on command 1. Click on the edict and type $location equals collect children equals
Oh, no quote.
equals collect lowercase parentheses children comma $name close parentheses semicolon. Now what you're doing here is you're telling no quote.
Oh, wait, no. Close parentheses, I'm sorry.
Semicolon. So what you're doing is you're telling Tinderbox to pre-populate the location attribute with all of the values of your locations. Okay, now that you've done that, which is going to be really cool, go back to your
Can I click away from this?
sure.
I don't want to hit run now.
Yeah, you can close the window too. Okay. So if you go to your notes now, where are your notes? Your full text notes?
Full text.
Okay. And what you can add the note prototype to all of those or to one of them just to test. So to add a prototype quickly, no, right mouse
Sorry.
click on the little rectangle on the left.
Right mouse click on the
rectangle
little,
to the left. The rectangle.
Right. Oh, got it.
All right. Now you can select from your prototypes to assign a prototype to a note. So assign the P note prototype. Okay. Now, if you click on location, okay, from the drop-down box on the right, okay, now you may need to refresh. Go back to your locations just to get Tinderbox to run that edict. If you click on location, or maybe you should have, on the locations folder, maybe you should have hit run now.
Okay. So run now?
Yeah. Okay.
Did it run?
Right. And if you want to make sure that that worked, go ahead and add the location attribute to this note. Go to displayed attributes.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Click on location folder. Click on the displayed attributes.
Wait, here.
Yeah, add location. No, not displayed attributes. You're adding location to displayed attributes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, so you'll see that that edict has populated all of your location notes if you click away. So now if you go back to your full text.
Let's see, full text.
Click on that note. And now if you click under location, on the location attribute. No.
Oh, what did I do wrong?
You're assigning the prototype. Assign that prototype back to as P note.
I
now go to location. Go to the location attribute. No. There you go.
Got it.
Click on the drop down, and now you're assigning that note to Beverly Hills, Boston, Los Angeles.
Wow.
Right? And now you can add people, you can add age, that's how you will categorize every one of your chapters. And then if you go back to the notes that the class we taught a couple weeks ago and look at the action code I gave you there, you'll actually have Tinderbox automatically do the linking for you.
Okay.
So you don't have to manually do it. And that automatic linking will say, if this note has location Los Angeles, link me to the note Los Angeles.
Yep. Wow. Well, this is a master class.
All right. And so and now to Mark Anderson's point on patterns, you're now going to take all of these different attributes and all of these different elements to you, and you're going to now be able to look at every one of your paragraphs from all of these different lenses, age and behaviors and psychological issues and other related people. And and you might want to start naming these things too. Interpersonal relationship with my brother and intrapersonal relationship. And start seeing those relationships. All of that is now possible using this framework.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this has moved me forward many, many miles.
Okay, now let's take a pause. Everyone that's been listening in on this, Chuck, Peter, Drew, what are your thoughts? What are your comments? How are you reacting? Phil, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I was thinking, just to chime in, that you're trying to create some sort of a model. I mean, you're doing a pattern, but there's relationships. But can you create like a model that we just follow all the time, kind of like a construct? The basic, people, and set up a model that we can follow. I mean, there's a lot we talked about today, but how do we organize the actual organization?
Well,
How
that's what
you
we've been
guys are
doing in our
thinking?
class, Kim.
I know. But I'm just saying, can you create a model? That's all.
Yeah, but that model is, like as Shakespeare says, every human endeavor can be categorized into 14, 15 different things, right? That's where the artist will decide what it's. We can see your text, by the way, Bruce. Yeah.
My daughter called me. I texted her. Thank you.
That will be, that's really where the art comes in, right? So our model is think about what categories, what themes really work with you. The other thing I was going to tell you, Bruce, is, and we can do this at some other point or in some other class, is in listening to you talk, there was a general concept, especially as a child with your brother, which was, at a higher level, hide or escape, right? And you might want to then create a higher level category called hide that has subcategories called in the bathroom, in the kitchen, out in the backyard. And then you could actually roll those up to a higher level concept called hide. And then that could also help you kind of synthesize these things in a better, because then you could do, hey, Tinderbox, tell me everything that I've related to this higher level category called hide. That will then break into the subcategories that are related to hide. And now I can start thinking, are there any patterns of this relationship?
And there were. He hid from banks. He hid from, I mean, the things that, well, he wasn't hiding as a child. He was chasing. As an adult, he began hiding.
So that's a really cool theme that you could start pulling out using this categorical methodology. And to Mark Anderson's point earlier, and Tom Diaz and I worked on this for quite a bit. I tend to think I kind of have themes, categories, and terms. And what I've found throughout my work is I might have 7, and this harkens to David Eddy's points as well. I might have 7 or 10 terms that are actually somewhat related to 2 or 3 categories, and those 2 or 3 categories are related to one common theme. And when you start thinking about it in that way, it really becomes quite powerful, because then you can realize these 50 paragraphs all relate to this one theme.
So I have a quick question. You see here how we moved these attributes? Suppose I just wanted to give a symbol and put an X in front of them or something like that. I can't really do search and replace.
Why would you want to put an X there? I'm sorry.
To show that I moved them.
I would just delete them. You know where they are at. That's just chaff now. You know where they're at.
Good point. We'll do it that way. All right.
And now we can call it attributes. Move to my resource notes. Created an attribute called location. I created an attribute called location and populated that attribute with the various locations that have been part of my life.
Okay.
Michael, I just thought I'd speak out a point to put on the side, but to explain it less, it seems negative. I totally get the point of asking, well, is there a model we could use? But I would politely suggest I think that's the wrong way to look at it. The power of a tool like Tinderbox, it's not exceptional, but it's, you know, different to normal. Most software basically tells you that if you do the right thing, you get a prize at the end. They do a small number of things, and that's true even with word processors. There are an awful lot of things you can't do, like add up figures. So what Tinderbox is giving you is a series of tools. So rather than thinking, what's the model that I just learned once and use everywhere? That's actually overly constraining. The real power comes from learning the pattern, the sort of models here. Okay, right, so I'm going to need some attributes. I'm going to need some themes. And what that teaches you to do is to pick the right tool out of the box to use for the task at hand. And the task I'm doing this week might differ from next week, unless, I mean, some people are lucky and it's always just the same task around and around again. But for most of it, it isn't. Or we're doing multiple things. We might be, you know, writing a bit of biography, but we might also be organizing a project for somebody. So that you get the most bangs for buck if you stay away from the fixity of models, or you have a model that you only deploy for a certain type of task. But the real power is just this very loose association of just figuring, okay, I've got some relationships I need to capture. What is the granularity I need? I get, you know, what things need to be an attribute, or what things need to be links, and those are two faces of the same thing. But as Michael has as well pointed out, links can be useful to help you visualize stuff. You might want to also have them as attribute values so that you can more easily calculate variation code, you know, to do something with the information. And it doesn't matter it's duplicated. It's not heavyweight. But the point being that you allow the structure to percolate up from the task at hand, rather than trying to cram. So is often the case, taking your reality and trying to cram it into a model that doesn't quite fit what you want, because right, unless you've done the job exactly before, the chances are you don't exactly know what you need. Therefore, leaving yourself some sort of wriggle room to refine things helps. Kim, I see your hand.
Well, I'm just going to respond to them. I'm not trying to close down the innovation here. I'm trying to actually set up a learning concept where you maybe, you know, the first thing you talked about is patterns, set of patterns, create a model for learning. Let me just getting out of the box of trying to get into Tinderbox. You might want, I mean, I know models can definitely limit you, right? You can, well, do this just this way. And Tinderbox says, you know, 15 different ways of doing things. But from a learning perspective, I'm thinking of models just for learning, because you mentioned patterns. Well, that would be the first thing. Look at the pattern, blah, blah, blah. And just go down like a checkbox. You're learning the thing, prototypes, you know, concepts that explode. Somehow create a model that we can actually, maybe we can try that, check that. And so not limit yourself, but actually open yourself up by maybe a checklist or a model or something. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the challenge with that, Kim, though, also, you know, the tools are great, but at the same time, the same tools can be used differently with the different data. So a lot of it depends on what's your input.
It's the context, right?
And what's the context, and what are you trying to do? And that's why I always say, you know, you know, and that's where so if I were to say what's the model is the 5 C's approach.
Well, that's too. I get that. That's pretty big, though. I mean, that's a
create
huge.
New insights,
right?
Collaborate with others, attribute, cite, and then publish. And the publishing is and then by deconstructing all of this into its atomic attributes, its atomic elements, you can then easily reassemble on the other end when you're ready to publish.
Yeah, I get that too as well. But I was saying, just from a beginner's perspective, maybe a basic model of just understanding of the tooling, I guess, could help. But yeah, you're right. It depends on the context, because you do things differently every time. Then you're stuck with this one model. Then you're being limited yourself, right? So I get that as well. But I just like the idea of like going back. Well, I have to think about patterns, to think about this, think about that, think about that. And maybe that will apply for most things I'm doing. A model could help out. That's all I'm saying. But it could limit you as well.
This is going to be interesting. I mean, first of all, thanks to everyone else for your patience. I hope this was has been useful. And to Mark and to Michael, I mean, you have simply thank you. I mean, I've been working at this and trying to learn it, and you've given me a way of thinking about it. In fact, part of my issue is, so there's the writing. I've also wanted a book-long outline. And what this opens me up to do is to just create simple, kind of like what I use Gemini for, but I would do it myself probably. Just create little category buckets. And as I have my thought, eh, maybe even in areas where I haven't done the writing, kind of think about what's going to go into that, and that becomes some of my different attributes. And so I can kind of make it more granular and then add and subtract to it as I do the writing.
Correct.
Does that?
Because the writing's very incremental. And then what you might also find is what was the beginning, what was the end becomes the beginning, what was the middle becomes the end.
Well, that's
Invariably, through the
oh
writing, you
God.
see stuff moving around all the time.
You're you're very on target, because I've had different thoughts about how to how this all plays out, and so this, I'm certain I will have more questions, but and I'll use the forum more. I mostly read the forum, as you all know. You don't see my postings very often, but I think that's going to change.
Now, also imagine too, now that you've broken it all down, think about at the end of the day, in some ways, you can also have these choose your own adventure book that could come out of it, which is really what was Story Space in the very beginning, right? Because you could have one linear articulation of your book, but then you could run an agent and run a series of notes and now say, now collect and curate the notes in a format that says, give me the storyline through the lens of London, right? Let's start with London and see where it happened from there. And that's the affordance that Tinderbox gives you, to be able to, once you've broken all these pieces, to now be able to and then you could actually publish a whole new subset novelette on the overall story just through that London theme.
Yeah, you can publish the subset. I just want to get the book done.
No,
But
I know.
appreciate
But the
that.
power of it, and that's ultimately how I finally got my doctorate done, was going through this process that you're going through right now. Because I had 600 pages of notes, and my dissertation chair said, put it on a diet, cut it down. You don't need all of
Well,
that
that's it.
history.
Part of my difficulty, and I've been looking more into Obsidian as a place to maybe stick some of these things, because I have things in drafts. I have some old things in Google Keep. It's and I have notes in Google Docs. So,
Yeah.
and I have notes in Tinderbox. So I'm moving everything into Tinderbox, I think, is really important. But
Yeah, it's where,
thank you.
as Paul Christie said, Tinderbox is where the work gets done. Okay. Now we could real quick, if we wanted to play, if we had a few more minutes, we could link some of your notes just randomly and then take a peek at them in attribute in hyperbolic view for Max.
Up to all of you. I mean, I'm benefiting from this. I don't want to, I suppose if there's only 3 people left, that'll be the answer. I'm game.
All right.
Yeah, go for
And
it.
if you'd like, what we
Works for
could
me.
do is we could take a stab really quick to generate some of that. So if you don't mind, let me see if I can do this. Let me take I'm gonna write some action code for you quickly. So I'm gonna request.
Don't take this personally. I'm making a backup.
Yeah, no, of course. Here. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna request remote control. And if you can give me remote control.
Yeah. And I definitely want my backup.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Why can't I? Oh, there we go. Draft sections. It's not. Oh, is it just doing draft sections?
It's whatever the name is in the note. That's what you named it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what we named it. That's right. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
Oh,
So we've been through
hang
and again,
on,
this is
hang on. Let's give you the original one.
okay.
Okay,
So
all
what we
yours.
could do.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I got control now. And what we can do is we're gonna go here and we're gonna go to can you, I can't see your file menu. Can you go ahead and add in the there we go. File hints. So we're gonna add the hints in real quick. So that will give us our functions folder. And we're going to go ahead and create a quick function, f link note. Link note. And we'll call this one function f link note. And again, I've got much more advanced versions of this, but we'll just do this one simple. So we'll say variable equals list, v list equals, for now, because it's simple, we'll say just location attribute. And then we'll say for v list dot each. No, we want the, I want to get the ID. Let me just set up what I want first. And then we'll get the right thing. And then I want to say v link to God.
While you're doing this, I'm going to go to mute and just see what my daughter wanted real quick.
Yeah, of course. All right. And this is the pattern. It's going to be, come on.
Oh, you and I are fighting. Let me have
Yeah.
it for one second.
Hey, Max, no worries on the delay. We've got time. All right. So I want, yeah. Right. We'll go X. And
Oh, just out of curiosity, has anyone tried using speech input to drive the Tinderbox user interface?
use what?
Speech to drive the Tinderbox user interface.
I can't hear the word you're saying. Fitch? What is Fitch?
Speech. Speech
Never heard of it.
Like Talon?
Never heard of it.
Let me find the link to it.
We can test this. So what we're going to do too is we're going to create a stamp real quick too, just to test this first. So here.
Okay, I dropped the link in the sidebar.
All right.
It's a little menu bar item that runs a copy of Whisper locally on your machine to send Apple scripts off to drive different apps. So I was wondering if anyone tried to use that with Tinderbox to.
No. Okay. Bruce, can I take over or?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right. So let me just make sure my link to function stamp is working first before I do this. Uh, see, I may need to check link to loss.
Typo on Los Angeles.
Yeah. All right, what's wrong with my link to? Oh, there's a. There we go. All right, so that's working. So let me just double check this. And then if I go here, so the location, so for each blist.each x, link to, that should be a semicolon. There we go. Okay, so that tells us our function is working. So now if I scroll down here and I fix my typo in the function, that should be it's hard to see with the screen resolution. So now I've got my function here.
And I'm on full screen.
No, it's the screen sharing small. Now I go to our prototype. I go to our P note. Now I would not do this, and for my, I mean, my files tend to be a little bit more complex than this, but so essentially what I'm doing now is I'm putting this function into the note. So what's going to happen now is every note. So let's say that P note not only is related to Los Angeles. Let's run the edict. That should have. Function. Oh, I didn't fix it. There we go. Okay, so you see how this note automatically got tagged to Los Angeles. So if I add Boston to this now, and I click away, you'll see this note is now automatically related to Boston and Los Angeles. So this is what I've been trying to explain for a while in the various meetups, is by having this kind of automation and using your notes. So let's just randomly select different notes. Right. So you can now see all of these notes and how they're now related to these different locations. And by leveraging Tinderbox's automation, I'm not needing to manually do the linking. Tinderbox is doing it for me. All right. And then if I want to open this note up into a different tab, I can now go and look at this note in hyperbolic view and say, give me the notes. Sorry. That this one is related to, and there you go. So you can now see this note is related to Boston and Los Angeles. And if we go back and let's say this note's also related to, for whatever, creative reason, to that one.
How am I going to get these out, by the way?
What do you mean?
Well, actually, no, never mind. I have my backup.
Okay. Right. Now, if we go and render it, re-render it, I don't know why. There you go. So now you'll see this note's related to Boston and Los Angeles. And let's go to this other one back here and suggest that. Was it this one? Yeah. And let's say this one's also related to Los Angeles. Now we go back here and we refresh. There we go. Now that one should have shown. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't do hyperbolic.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Michael,
but
you're
the
getting
point
a
being,
little ahead
I'll double
of.
check. So this one should be showing us linked to Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you'll then start getting that view of how do the different cities work and how do they relate to these different episodes and these different events. And that
I think
is,
the linking is interesting, and certainly automating it is
here we go.
preferable.
Yeah.
I think the idea, what we've covered up until then, I think is most manageable for me. And
Yeah.
that's
No, this was just this last part wasn't for you. This was for Max,
okay.
right? So Max, so you're basically seeing now in the hyperbolic view, now that we've selected the different options, you can see that this note's related to that location. Los Angeles is related to both.
Oh,
And
I'm
again,
sorry. Go
that
ahead.
may provide some insight for you. Max, does that make sense? I know you can't talk. And I'm not seeing the chat real quick. Let me see it. The chat disappeared on me.
Here. Oh,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
So,
Oops.
well, yeah, so he says it does. So, yeah, so that's kind of, and so this kind of demonstrates today, we've covered a lot. We've covered explode, we've covered linking, we've covered creating attributes, we've covered structure, the difference between our writing notes, our resource notes, and our background functional notes. So that's that's the broad scope of what we've been able to cover today.
Thank you. This is, as I said, master class on top of the master class.
Awesome. All right. Before we jump off, anybody else have any thoughts, comments, questions, reactions?
Well, could you show us the code for that last link to function?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You're just basically saying, grab all of the items out of, if there's multiple items, that's why you're creating a list. Then iterate through each item in that list and link to it, link to the name of that note, and then assign the location link type to it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Now, just so you know, I've got one stamp that will work for every situation in my file because you can be passing parameters through this function and really make it incredibly contextual. And then we've kind of covered some of that in the past, but we can do it again if people are interested. All right, everybody. Well, happy post-Thanksgiving for those that are in the US. Thank you very much for the session today, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.